Now this is the desktop for Edius 6, but what I'm going to show you is equally as valid using other versions, including Neo. I'm going to export the timeline and to produce what I call a solid state file. That's a file that I can keep on the PC, I can put on my network media player, I can have it in my network drive, so it's accessible from all of the PCs that we happen to have scattered around, and also I can connect the tablet to it. So select printer file, and if I select all, then this is the myriad of options that you actually have, what you see in this left window here. I'll show you two options. The first one is MPEG. These are some of the standard presets which I'm going to ignore and look at these two. The first one is an elementary stream. This one produces a separate video file and a separate audio file. You have to mix the two together in your disk creation program. Far easier to select the program stream and click on export. But before I do that, I'll just have a look through here. It shows that it's a full high definition 50i, which is what I shot it in. It's going to keep the frame size the same. It's going to keep the aspect ratio the same, 16 by 9. That's 920 by 1080. And it's going to keep the audio the same. So I'm happy with that lot. So if I click on export, I'll get another window popping up. Now, from the save as file type, if I just select the drop down menu, you'll see that you don't have any options here because I selected the program stream. So the program stream will give us a format of either MPG or M2P, both of which show you that the audio and the video are interleaved within the one file. So, in usual fashion, you select where you're going to save the file, navigate to that location so it shows the saved location in here, and give it a name, which I'll just, for this purpose, call it test, and then have a look at the settings. Now, with this particular one, we don't need to do a great deal. I'll show you the extended settings first. These are all pretty well standard. We don't need to touch those. In here, this is where we need to do the changes that we want. I'll just look at the audio first. So these are what we've got: MPEG-1 audio, linear PCM, or Dolby Digital. My own choice is to either select Dolby Digital or MPEG-1. You can select linear PCM if you want. I just find that MPEG-1 is more compatible with the systems. We've got a media player with an integral hard disk at our club, and it doesn't like the linear PCMs. It did originally until the firmware was updated, and then it stopped playing the sound back, so I had to convert everything back to MPEG-1, and it plays perfectly happy. So the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, works in this case. Now, as regards the video settings, we've got two choices here: a constant bit rate or a variable bit rate. Personally, I think the better quality comes with a variable bit rate. So I'm just going to take out the 15 there and put in a 21 and put in a 35 there. So that gives me an average of 21 megabits per second with a maximum of 35. 36 is the maximum video bit rate in MPEG-4 format, and also in MPEG-2. MPEG-2 is part of the MPEG-4 standard. We've looked at the audio, so we're all finished on that one. So if I click on save, when we get the system exporting, and away it goes. So I'll cancel that because I don't want to keep that file. We'll now have a look at a different option, print to file, and from all these presets here, I want to encode it to an MPEG-4 file. So H.264 tells me that that's the preset for MPEG-4. So if I have a look at the advanced as before, I'll just click on change the video format so you can actually see it clearer. So again, that shows that's HD 50i. Everything else is okay. Aspect ratio is fine, and so I click on export, and I get the window popping up. The extension here shows it's an MPEG-4, so again, because of the extension, I know that the audio and the video will be interleaved within the one file. Navigate to where you want to save it, and give it a name. So we'll call it test MP4, so we know what the format is. And again, with this, I'll select the high profile, I'll select the superfine variable bitrate, and again, I'll put that up to 21 and that up to 35. The audio settings, you see, because it's MPEG-4, I don't have the choice in this particular one. I do have the choice of changing the bitrate for the audio, but I'm happy with the quality that that produces. So note these settings, VBR, 21 and 35. Now, what you'll find is that with your disk creation software, both of these files may work within it. So rather than produce an MTS file or an M2T file, you can produce an MPEG-4. It's a little bit more compatible with systems, and so even though I'm editing with Edius, if I produce an MPEG-4 file or an MPEG-2 file, both of which can be high definition, I can then use Encore to produce the disks if I don't want to use the disk creation software that comes with Edius, which I personally don't like very much, but that's another matter. Okay, so that's that. Now, once we're within Edius, we'll look at burning a disk. So as I said, I don't particularly like this myself in Edius, but what I want to do is to show you how I would actually use it. So this is what it's going to show me: file size. From the style menu, I can select whichever menu that I want to have. I haven't actually put any chapters in there. It's just going to show me that when I click on this particular button, it will play from the start. But I can see that it's a Blu-ray. The auto layout is fine. It's going to give me the correct aspect ratio, and the frame rate is going to be as per standard. But if I click on edit, I can then change the title of that if I want it, so it's better to have play rather than sequence, and we can add whatever we want to in there, but I'm not bothered about that because that's not really what I want to show you. So from this is the final burning section, and what I like to do is to compile a disk image to a folder. So I click on that. I don't bother putting a disk in the drive. I just want to create the image. from the drop down options here, again, I navigate to where I want to save the image file to, and then I click on create disk, and then it starts to do the encoding to that location. So I'll just abort that because I don't actually want to create the file. And what I can then do is fire up another piece of software called ImageBurn. Now this is a free piece of software that's readily available on the net, and I much prefer to use it to burn my disks. So literally I just click on that, click on the select file, navigate to where it is, which is I'll click on that one, put a disk in, and click on the right button, and then that will burn it, and it will burn it in what I've found to be a very compatible system. So that's Edius, folks.